So hi, thank you everyone. It's great to be with you here today. And I wanted to tell you a bit about my work. So my broad research interest is in behavior change technology or persuasive technologies. So these are technologies that are meant to help you reinforce and shape and help you change some of your behaviors or attitudes for the better. Yeah, so we're talking about beneficial kinds of behaviors here. And I'm really interested on how can we design technology to help support this, and how can we integrate AI, for example, to help us maybe personalize or make these technologies work better. So in this project, we are focusing on a particular domain, and that is happiness. Yeah, so happiness or subjective well-being has been researched for millennia. Yeah, so a lot of people have been looking at this, trying to figure out what makes people happy, how can we make people happier, and what are the effects of this. So we know that being a happy person, being a happy individual, has a lot of positive effects on yourself as the individual, but also on the societies and the communities we live in. So it helps. Oh, sorry, I'm gesturing too much. So it helps a lot with your mental and physical health. Yeah. So we know that happy people engage better in exercise. They respond better to healthy diets. They have lower risk of heart disease and even lower risk of getting the colds. Yeah. So all in all, it prepares you to be more resilient, so you're dealing better with challenging situations as well. It also improves your work productivity and performance. So the happier you are as an individual, the more you, the less you are likely to be absent from work. You perform better at your job, and you can have increased outputs. It also helps with your social relationships. So you're more likely to engage in social activities and build better friendships. So then you're better prepared for situations. And we also know that it increases your life expectancy. So all in all, a lot of good reasons why we want to be happier. So how can we make people happier? That's the big question, right? We know it's good for us. So what can we do about it? Well, psychologists have really been working on this. And there is this area of positive psychology, which shows that intentional engagement in acts of kindness or kind behaviors can really have a good impact on improving your subjective well-being or happiness. So some of the examples of these activities could be writing some letters of gratitude. So maybe saying thank you to those who are close to you, practicing optimism, or performing different acts of kindness, so helping a friend or a neighbor, and so on. The problem is we know this. Yeah, we figured this out already, but we still don't engage in these kinds of acts as much as we should. And that's because, maybe life gets busy, or we're stressed, or we forget, or, we just have other things getting into the way. So could we have some persuasive technology to help us increase and sustain happiness? Well, like we mentioned, these technologies are designed to help you change your behavior or your attitudes for the better. There have been a lot of them designed in recent years, a lot of interventions to help you with different kinds of behavior. So getting you to eat more healthy, getting you to do more exercise, improve your driving habits. Yeah, so become a safer driver, or even be a more sustainable traveler. So why not try to use this to get people to engage in more acts of kindness? We also know that one size does not fit all. So all of these interventions use some kind of strategies, to persuade you to change your behavior or your attitude. But these strategies don't work as good for me as they would do for you. Yeah, and that depends on a variety of factors. Yeah, so it could be things that are characteristic to me, but it could also be down to the context or my life experience and so on. So we know that personalizing these technologies is very important so that their effectiveness is increased and adherence increases as well. Now, a lot of the work so far is looking at perceived persuasiveness. So that's usually showing a scenario, showing a strategy, maybe, for example, showing a little picture of a situation, and then you ask your participant, would this persuade you, to do the action that we're thinking about? And they say, well, yes, no, and then maybe they have a scale. So that's how we usually gather information about perceived persuasiveness. However, a lot of work has also been done to show that that's not very informative. So what people think they persuades them is not what actually works. And I think the O'Keefe paper from 2018 had a nice comparison to it just being like flipping a coin. Yeah, so people have some existing beliefs, yeah, or about these theories, and they think something will influence them. They think, oh yes, this will definitely convince me to do that, but that's usually wrong. Yeah, and it's not what actually happens in reality. So we really need to focus on actual persuasiveness. So we need to look at the behavior itself and understand how different persuasive principles or strategies have an effect on this. However, measuring this actual persuasiveness is very difficult. Yeah, it's very time consuming. It's hard to get a lot of participants. Sometimes the data quality is a bit poor, and there's very little work that actually focuses on this. So we wanted to do a bit of change in this direction. So first of all, in this work, we wanted to think about how do we design this technology for kindness and well-being by taking into consideration the fact that we need to personalize it, and we need to focus on actual persuasiveness, not perceived persuasiveness. So we looked at two behavior change interventions. We created two of them. One was personalized and one was not personalized. And the idea of them was to get people to do kind behaviors, to improve their behavioral intention. So that's their attitude, yeah, how likely they are to feel, how they feel towards performing these kind behaviors, and also their subjective well-being. So we wanted to see if taking part in this intervention actually makes them happier or not. So these were our research questions. How effective are the different messages, persuasive messages, to motivate behavior? What's the effect on behavioral intention and on subjective well-being? This is what the intervention looked like in both the conditions. So it was called Be Kind, and participants had a list of kind activities that were assigned to them on the left, and then they had a message board where they could interact with other participants anonymously, and well, mention about their activities or discuss and so on. So they were asked to complete kind activities from 5 different categories. And these were previously validated in a different study. So 15 activities from 5 categories, and they were asked to complete as many as possible by the end of the day. Yeah, they only had 1 day to do this. 15 activities sounds quite a lot. Yeah. They also received 1 message in that day, which used one of Cialdini's persuasive principles to try to convince them to do all of the activities. Now, for the personalized condition, we used some data that we collected in some previous work on actual persuasiveness and personality, so the big 5. And we used that data to train a machine learning model. So we use the decision tree. So then we can predict the most effective persuasive principle for an individual given their personality traits. So in the personalized condition, we show them the one that was predicted to be the most effective for them. In the non-personalized condition, we picked a random one, except the one that was predicted to be the most effective for them. So we also had a few questionnaires before. Yeah, we had an attitude scale. We used the subjective happiness scale before the intervention and the personality inventory. And we also invited participants to come to a post questionnaire so we can see if there are any changes after 1 week. 234 participants and only 67 returned after 1 week. We had a distribution of 140 females and 93 males, 18 to 60 years old. They were automatically assigned to one of these groups, but they were not aware. And surprisingly, we were quite happy with the results, given it was only 1 day. We measured participants completed 1,326 kind activities in that day. And on average, they did about 5.6 activities out of the 15. Now, we were curious about those persuasive messages. Does it work? Is it better to personalize them? And we found a significant difference. So people in the personalized condition did about 6.6 activities, whereas people in the non-personalized condition did about 4.6 activities in that day. So there was a significant effect. It seems that personalizing these messages, even in such a simple situation, tends to work. And you can see here, it didn't matter what kind of strategy we're looking at. The green is always higher. Yeah, so being in the personalized condition was always better than given a random other type of message. We also got some nice comments which reinforced what we found. So people who had reciprocity predicted as the most effective. So that's a principle where if somebody does something for you, then you're more likely to repay the favor. So you can see in their comments that it's reflected that that principle seems to have been very effective for them. Same for the commitment. Yeah, I wanted to complete the activities once I started the study. So that was very nice to see in the qualitative analysis. Behavioral intention was also better, but that was irrespective of the condition. So both personalized and non-personalized condition participants had improved their behavioral intention to perform more kind activities in the next month. We also got some really nice comments. Again, people being grateful for taking part in the study and realizing that maybe they should or could put more attention to doing little kind activities in their day-to-day life. And of course, we were interested in the happiness, which was the main goal of this. And we did find the subjective well-being scores after 1 week. So that's 1 week after taking part into this, they were still higher, 0.5 higher than before taking part in intervention, which means it's worked. So given given a longer time, so if we were to keep this going for not just 1 day, keep doing it, we could maybe have bigger effects as well. We had some limitations. Our model, maybe our training data on personality was a bit noisy, so there could be some improvements there. And we used a randomly assigned principle instead of, for example, reciprocity as a baseline, which seemed to be the most effective one generally. So maybe that's something we could work on in the future. It actually worked, I think. There could also be an effect of observing the other people. So seeing everyone else engaged, that might have influenced people to do more. But since we've seen a difference in between personalized and non-personalized, I think there is something we could work on more there as well. And of course, there are environmental constraints which we could not control for. So, for example, they may be feeling less happy than usual, or they may have had a stressful day or a very busy day and so on. But overall, these results were very encouraging, and I think we could look further at personalizing these strategies and other strategies in the future, and applying these methods to try to get people to do other kinds of behaviors as well. So obviously we would need new types of data and maybe even better quality data to do that. But overall, I think this is quite promising.